Hey, all you fans out there on YouTube and Twitter and wherever you found this video, thanks for joining me today. JC Sherbert here with the Gamecock Brief. Wanted to talk about soon-to-be tight ends coach Jody Wright, who comes to South Carolina from the Giants. He's been in Alabama, UAB, Jacksonville State, Mississippi State as a graduate assistant. Not a guy that I was very familiar with, to be honest, when his name surfaced. But I did some checking, as all good insiders do, with some sources around college football that knew him, around the SEC in particular. Had some big time programs. And I want to let you guys know that the feedback came overwhelmingly positive. And, sometimes when you go and you seek feedback like that, you'll get a polite answer sometimes, oh, well, it's good for him. He's okay. But it was overwhelmingly, man, that guy's good. Very personable, very genuine. He'll do well in recruiting. He's a good, versatile on the field coach that can coach a number of positions. Sounded really good, and checked with internal sources as well, contacts, whatever you say. Don't like the word sources sometimes. And they were positive. Now, you'd expect them to be positive, but it was really overwhelmingly, hey, we got our guy and we feel really good about it. In terms of the hire. And I know some of you out there probably wanted another hire. And the resumes, if you look at them, I get it totally. But just because there may be a resume out there that's better, or a guy that we all think, this is a no-brainer, that doesn't take into account Shane Beamer making that decision, staff chemistry, all that good stuff. And so that's the hire. And, in checking with independent contacts, it seems like a pretty good one. We'll all see, right? We'll all see what happens, just like with every coach that's hired. But I just want to pass that along so some of you'd feel better. Did we know that Frank Martin is 3-2 against Kentucky at the Colonial Life Arena during his tenure at South Carolina? I did not know that. I knew he had beaten Kentucky several times, been a thorn in Cal's side, especially – most recently, actually, the Jermaine Cousinard game. I call it the Cousinard game back in 2 years ago when the Gamecocks won on a buzzer beater. My friend Mike Morgan called that one. What's going to happen tonight? Kentucky's on a roll. Speaking of Mike, he had Kentucky for a game he was calling on the SEC network recently. So they're really good. Like, they're different. It feels different watching this Kentucky team. So it's a long shot, folks. Long shot tonight. But there's always that opportunity, and there always is that history that Frank Martin has there. So we'll see what happens. This is the type of game, if the Gamecocks win, it could maybe change the narrative a little bit. If they lose, things start to get really, really desperate, I think, in terms of this team making the NCAA tournament, which is the goal this year. It's the goal every year. Crystal ball. Hale McGranahan, BigSpur.com, put in a pick for Marquis Anderson from Dorman. He followed me there. Anderson's a 2023 offensive tackle. North Carolina is in it. South Carolina is in it. Clemson is in it. You can't rule the Tigers out right now. But my understanding is, and Hale talked about this, is that North Carolina may be the biggest competition for the Gamecocks right now for the young men out of Dorman. Of course, North Carolina does have some history at Dorman. Ryan Sims was a Dorman Cavalier that went to UNC. They've gotten guys out of Spartanburg, Cherokee County before. Brooks Foster from Boiling Springs, Quinshad Davis from Gaffney. So Tar Heels are pretty popular in the upstate, popular in Horry County as well. I think those are kind of the two, areas where you see a lot of Tar Heel folks, besides Rock Hill in Charlotte. So, we'll see what happens there, but certainly recruiting for the class of 2023 right now, February 8th, looks pretty good for the Gamecocks. And, they're in a dead period now. The coaching staff's been on vacation, but we'll see when things crank back up with more junior days, spring practice coming up, what Shane Beamer and his crew can get accomplished. This should be a better class on paper, high school player wise than this year. It should be. One of the things Carolina has to do is to, I guess, sign more blue chip players out of the high school ranks. I mean, that's the bottom line. I don't know that it's a requirement right now, because I do think that they have some good players coming in. They can develop, but I think that's the next step in recruiting is to get, blue chippers, more blue chippers from the high school rank. They're getting blue chippers from the portal, a lot of them, but some of those tier one guys, 4 and 5 star guys, whatever you want to call it. And Marquis Anderson fits the bill. And then there's a lot going on in 2024 too, in state for the Gamecocks. And that's kind of where it starts. South Carolina has to recruit in state, build it that way. That's the way this program's always been kind of structured. When you do well in state, that kind of blossoms, and you have your blue chippers. I think sometimes the fan base or people kind of downplay South Carolina getting blue chip players from the state and all that. But, what's the difference if they come from Calhoun County versus coming from Atlanta or Miami? There's really no, it's still a blue chip player. All right, folks, that's the Big Spur Brief for today. I'll have more on the Inside the Gamecocks podcast, on JB and Goldwater on Wednesday, on thebigspur.com. So check us out. Certainly appreciate all you folks subscribing to our YouTube page. And also follow us on Instagram at the Big Spur 247, at Inside the Gamecocks. Also Twitter at the Big Spur 247. All right, guys, have a good one. JC Sherbert, holla at you soon.